So we're getting ready to release two different review courses. We're getting ready to release the CFRN, the Certified Flight Registered Nurse, and the CTRN, the Certified Transport Registered Nurse course. Now, I mean, both of these obviously are going to be courses that are meant to help people prepare for these two exams about patient transport. And even though it might seem like these are two very similar topics, and there are a lot of overlaps between them, they truly are two very separate exams because, of course, these are two very different specialties. The CFRN, the Certified Flight Registered Nurse, obviously is going to be talking about transporting somebody in altitude, so obviously either rotor wing or fixed wing. And there's so many unique considerations that we have to think about in flight, whether that's talking about altitude or hypoxia or some of the safety things that are going to go with flying a patient in a helicopter or a plane. And those may not be appropriate for the CTRN, for those that are transporting on the ground. But then we also have to remember that when you are transporting on the ground, there is a whole nother set of changes that may apply to the ground transport nurse that don't apply to the flight transport nurse. So for that reason, the two content outlines for these exams are very different, which means the two courses are different. One of the differences between the two is that the CFRN has 20 more questions counting towards the final score than the CTRN does. That doesn't necessarily mean that one is more important than the other. It just reflects the fact that there is a lot more material that may need to be tested when it comes to some of the flight physiology and safety things in flight that we may not find in transport. But the difference between these two exams and these two courses goes farther than just the number of questions. We also recognize that many times there's maybe some subtle differences in the type of patients that we transport one to the other. And so the content outlines for these two exams are slightly different. And the CTRN exam, the ground transport, is going to reflect that there are some areas in medical and trauma that are going to have more questions because we're more likely to transport certain types of patients in the ground that wouldn't be appropriate in the air. But the opposite is true. You're going to find on the CFRN that there's certain diagnoses and injuries we're more likely to transport in air than on the ground. And so the content outline is going to reflect this difference, with some areas being more pronounced on the CFRN and some on the CTRN. And I did my best when I wrote these courses to make sure the courses reflect this as well. And the CFRN is going to have a higher emphasis on those diseases and illnesses more likely to be transported in flight as compared to the illnesses and injuries that might be transported on ground. So while these two courses have a lot of overlap, and you're going to see a lot of similarities between them, we have to understand that these are two distinct specialties and two distinct exams. And these review courses are going to reflect that, and there's two distinct review courses: CFRN review course, CTRN review course.